to another episode of Curated Conversations with me, Risa Hunter, and Jasmine Lee as part of the Masterworks interview team. We have another Masterworks member here with us today, Kendra Earls, who is our educator at Masterworks. And Kendra has been with Masterworks for many years, and we were talking in the team about who we should be interviewing from an artist perspective, because it's really important for us to get to know the artists in Bermuda's community. And we thought, why not chat with Kendra, who is an artist. She's multi-talented, works in a lot of different mediums, works on murals, she works on fine art, she does everything. And then she's also the educator at Masterworks. So welcome, Kendra. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Kendra, I think to kick off, it'd be great to hear a little bit more about, firstly, what your role is at Masterworks, what exactly you do from an education standpoint. And then I'd like to transition to the very beginning and how you actually got interested in going into art as a profession.
Okay, well, here at Masterworks, actually, my role is education officer. And so in that position, my responsibility is really to make sure that we have programs, art programs for all ages, and help people to just develop their creativity, their skills, their techniques, and to just make sure that somehow the different aspects of the community are able to engage in learning about art.
Great, thank you. And we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's been, like you said, I've been with Masterworks for years. Big gaps in between. I would say I was first with Masterworks, oh my goodness, maybe about 14 years ago, working with their education program then as a teacher. And eventually, 2 years ago, starting this position as the education officer, which has been great. And I think this is where I'm able to put all my experience from an education standpoint, and from the times that all those years that I've actually worked in the community teaching, actually all ages, and be able to bring that aspect of what I do professionally as an educator into the museum.
And now, Kendra, you started studying art at a young age. I know that. So tell us a little more about how you knew that art was something that would be, either an interest for you, or did you know it was going to be a career? And then, maybe tell us a little bit more of, how you are an artist today, but then also an educator as well.
Okay. Well, actually, it's genetic. No. My family, I come from a family of artists. My father was an artist. He was the one who actually taught me how to draw. And my mother is a latent artist. Later in her life, she does sculpturing and watercolors, and she's a fabulous artist, actually. And so that kind of just ran in my family. And so I've always engaged in it in some aspect. As a kid, that's just what I did. I painted, I drew, I did everything I could to do art. And as I got older, my interest came more into design. So I studied in school, and even in high school, I studied architectural design, architectural drafting. And so I got a lot of technical skills on how to design floor plans and things like that, which I later took into my career now in doing stage design. And as I went into college, Atlanta College of Art, which is part of the High Museum, which isn't there anymore. So those who would refer, it was Atlanta College of Art was an aspect of the High Museum in Atlanta. And that's where I learned interior design, and I learned fine arts there. So that's where a lot of my education is. I would say as an artist, though, I would say I'm mostly self-taught. One of the things I like that's important to me as an artist is being able to be very diverse in different things, because I love doing different things. I can't just do one thing. I get bored real easy. I was like, okay, what else could I do? So in college, learning about, I wanted to study most of my skill as an artist came from a lot of self-taught, even though I learned at Collinwall Art Center in Atlanta as well. I learned metalsmithing, jewelry design. I just engaged in so many facets of art, from the applied art to fine art. And but I would say most of my skill came from my own personal development. I can't say that in college I created something that I thought was absolutely spectacular. It wasn't until my full adult life, after having kids, that I found my niche. And that was about finding my style and my technique naturally for me, like what worked for me. But inspired by many artists, local artists in Atlanta, like Maurice Evans, who is actually a friend of mine, actually, but who's a well-known artist in Atlanta. And so, yeah, and then eventually, I got into the art scene. Believe it or not, my first real exhibit is guess where?
Masterworks.
My first real art exhibit was at Masterworks. And it was a fabulous show. It's a very successful show. It was absolutely amazing. And from there, I exhibited other places, and I just grew as an artist. I'm not the kind of, so I never was the artist that sat and painted all day and just paint, because I always wanted to do something different. And so I went actually to study under Cleo Patetti, who is the stage designer, master designer overseas in the UK for Gilbert and Sullivan. I studied under her for years back. Oh my God, that's over, again, 12 years ago or so. It's been a long time. And I learned a lot from her, and started doing a lot of local shows and staging for like TEDx and things like that. So yeah, so then there's Mosaics. Another thing that I was inspired through South African mosaics, actually, I found to be totally amazing, which was where a lot of my inspiration came from. And so my style, I consider it contemporary design with an architectural flair. That's kind of like where I lean towards more, and then eventually ended up just being more simple, small frames, because it's such an expensive art form. Yeah, and then during that, I did it for the festival, the Bermuda Festival, for the cover for the Bermuda Festival. And then, yeah, it just, so that kind of had its seasons in and out. Sometimes I'm doing mosaic, sometimes I'm doing a painting, sometimes I'm doing a mural. So I'm all over the place, but it's kind of what I enjoy. It kind of keeps me learning different things constantly. And I consider myself a constant art student, constantly learning about different techniques and learning about art. So yeah, and then
I love that story, Kendra, because I think so often young artists feel like they have to go down a very specific path, and your journey shows that you can have a very successful, like, multi-hyphenate career within different fields within arts. And so would you have any advice for young artists around, following, different paths or sticking to a path? I mean, what advice would you have given yourself when you were young?
I would definitely, I've been asked that many times, actually, and I always tell artists, like, learn as much as you can, diversify your skills, because, I hate the phrase starving artist, right? I don't even adopt that idea, because we don't have to be that. I think that once we can learn how to diversify what you're interested in, and you can take it to so many different areas. Like, I'm not just one sitting around painting all the time. I build, I create structure for shows, I, mosaic, various different things. So there's, I just always suggest that people be more diversified in learning art, and look at art not just as a fine art, but also the applied arts as well, such as interior design. Is a great way to make a living at it too, because it's possible. It's just a matter of being strategic and figuring out what is it that people want and what are people needs, and seeing as an artist, how can you fill those needs?
And that's definitely something I think that gets reflected in the camps and even just the classes that you teach, because we do so many different activities with the kids and adults and the seniors. So it's great to have someone like you who's like, I'm doing this, I'm practicing this, and being able to share, hey, you can learn all of these different materials and figure out what works for you or
That's right.
how to move forward. Yeah.
Exactly. And artists like the one very special part, and you guys know, part of my profession as an artist was working with the seniors, and still is. I'm working with the seniors who have dementia. So art is also a way of service. We can use our artistic skills as a way of service and helping people create art. And so for over 7 years now, with Action on Alzheimer's and Dementia, I worked with seniors and facilitating a space for them to be creative. Wasn't an art, they're not an art therapist, but I facilitate a space where they're actually able to create, and without judgment, without right or wrong, is just create. And it's amazing, and they're a lot of times shocked of what comes out of it, but it's so it ends up just being therapeutic, right? And it's the what has come out of that has been absolutely amazing. I really wish people could have seen the amazing outcome that the effect that art has on seniors who have dementia. It's absolutely amazing. And that's really what pushed me even further in education, is when teaching is teaching from a standpoint that, helping students find what they're good at, like finding their unique way of creating, because we all create differently, right? So what is your unique way of creating, and helping to develop that, whether it's a kid or an adult. That's my philosophy when it comes to education. Part of it is very important, is allowing, there's no judgment in art, but that it's an open platform for any form of any expression visually.
And I think what's also unique about your path is that you still create, but
Yeah.
you also take on this role as educator. And as you just highlighted, you educate from the age of 5 all the way up to
105.
100, yeah, 105. I know there's somebody in your class that got to 100, right?
They did, believe it, 105. I did. I had a 105-year-old senior at a nursing home who learned from me for at least 3 years.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
yeah.
and it shows you, the breadth of career opportunities that can happen when you're in the art space.
Exactly.
And, I know, as you just shared, that you find the education piece of it, not only teaching, but developing programs so fulfilling.
That's right.
So yeah, and maybe share a little bit more about that, like what exactly you get out of being an educator for the arts. What does it do for you personally? What does it do for the community?
Yeah, it's the most important aspect to me of what I do, besides being an artist, because that's my natural self as an artist. But the education is where I feel like, as an artist, I share a part of what I find so helpful and important to me. And so I think I almost lost the point of what you're asking. We're just gonna have to edit this part. No. So I think
what's fulfilling about being an artist to you personally and the community?
And an educator, as an educator, yes.
Sorry, as an educator, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually helping people really find their unique way of creating. That is so important to me, and helping people to develop the confidence, because a lot of people lose a lot of their confidence, whether it's through teachers or whether it's just going through the process. They feel like they have this idea that I'm not doing it right, and it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's just finding out who you are as an artist, like what moves you. Is it lines? Is it dots? Is it, is it abstract? Is it realism? Is it detail? There's so many. Is it special effects? There's so many things that can move you to create. And so what's important to me is finding what that is that makes people feel good about creating. And that's what I did, for the seniors. That was the whole premise. And that I take into my education aspect is that when you allow someone to just go where they naturally will go, you find a style. We know that artists, the greatest artists all over, I mean, especially abstract artists, make millions. Paintings are worth millions, and it's like a dot, but a little bit more than that, but no, more than that. But just teaching them so where they can actually develop what it is that they're just naturally good at. So that's what's important to me. And to me, when you learn to be creative in art, you can also learn to be creative in life, So you helping people. That's been part of what I do as well, is helping people to find ways in their lives to be more creative, because it's all about the creative process, right? So what we do in the creative process to create art, we can do the same thing in creating the life that we want. And and I find that it worked for me, and I see that it works for others as well.
You talked about finding what moves you. What moves you right now as an artist? So what's keeping you creative and engaged?
Okay. I would say because my favorite art form is staging, right? That's what I love doing. I love designing stages and building them, painting them, all of that. It is big. I love that. And because we're in this COVID period, it's not there. So I go back to something I did before, which was creating murals. So that is something I engage in. I'm doing now that has been very fulfilling for me, because I add that element of stage designing to it. So when I feel like as a mural artist, I'm creating an environment. So in someone's home, a part of it, their home becomes the stage with using the mural that I create. So, and I love special effects. I love things to look 3D. I love things to look like you can almost touch it, So, I use a lot of that. I do use that, and I try to use that in creating my mural. So that's what's keeping me going now as an artist. I do a few, as you can see behind me, a couple of mosaic, little smaller pieces. I'm used to doing real big, but those don't go quickly. So I do little smaller pieces, and that works a different side of my brain. That's a totally different. Mosaics is a left brain activity that I need sometimes, and it's at periods of my life, it's good for me. Like doing that satisfies me. My paintings, I as you can see behind me, I enjoy painting. But these are much smaller paintings of a series of women and some nature paintings. But again, I enjoy big much more. So yeah, that's what's keeping me going as an artist now.
Yeah, so what moves you literally and figuratively, right? It's moving
Yeah,
around.
exactly. Exactly. I love all the stuff that comes with painting big, all the paint cans of paint and the whole ladders, and I believe it or not, really, I love the huge drop cloths, and like I feel like I'm taking up this grand space to create. That fills me up. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully COVID will cooperate and we can get back to that soon.
Yeah.
I know.
So Kendra, one of the things I find is that in our education system, and this is globally, this is an issue, or at least as I know, the Western world, we focus a lot on art education from a schooling perspective, not as much as we should maybe, but we do focus on it when kids are really young. And then people tend to tap out of it as they get older, because it's not a profession, right? It's, they're focused on their careers or their family or, all the other important things that come up in life.
Right.
So how do you suggest adults really engage with their creativity if they're feeling insecure, or they feel like they're not good enough, or they haven't tapped into that creative side for a long time? What would you suggest for adults to really engage with their artistic expression?
Because I've been teaching adults for many years, oh my God, probably as long as I've been teaching, I've been working with adults. And one thing I can say is that a lot of times at a certain point of our lives, well, because life does take over and we've moved out of or never had the chance to be creative, there's a natural desire to want to be creative. I think every human being, if they tap into themselves, there is just a natural desire to create, because that's what we do that's what we do every day. We're creating, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, it's just a matter of just finding what it is you enjoy doing. Just again, like I did when I was younger, is experimenting with just different things. If something fancies you, if you find it, you look at something, you're like, I think I would like to learn how to just do it. Just do it. And it does. And you know what it does doing art builds confidence. It really does. It really builds confidence. And because you're creating something and eventually you're satisfied with what you created, because you develop the skills and the techniques to do it. You know what I'm saying? And you take that into something else, or you expand on that. And maybe it becomes extra income for you, or maybe it becomes something, a hobby, or maybe you, like I had one of my adults actually become an art teacher. And so you use it you can use it to just expand, but it's just a matter of taking classes. You can always do them at Masterworks. We're trying to build that, aren't we, Risa?
Yeah, totally.
And I can't do it on myself, but getting also other artists in the community is so important, that other artists engage in teaching and sharing their skills with people. You don't want what you got to die with you. You want your skill to live on. That's how we make our mark, is passing our skills and our knowledge on. So I always try to encourage other artists to, teach somebody what you know so well. Yeah, and it's you get a lot out of it personally when you do that as well.
It's so true. It's so true. And speaking of this masterclass idea, what coming up from a Masterworks perspective, are you in particular looking forward to from an education, in terms of thinking about the education platform?
The education, okay. Well, as far as the master class, I'm really excited about that. I think, again, that's why I stress for artists to come out and teach your skill, because, that's the only way, honestly, Risa, that's the only way we can expand artistic knowledge and experience, is if we have more artists teaching what they know, and demonstrating, even if it's a 2-day workshop, just demonstrating what it is you do, and showing people how it can be done. But as far as the program itself, my goal was always, when I came into Masterworks, was to take the education platform from a very holistic standpoint. And that was to affect people on all levels of their lives, psychologically, socially, mentally, spiritually, physically, where they are able to, art becomes, it affects all aspects of them. And in that, it also, we are able to facilitate a space for the entire community, regardless of their age, a space where they can come and be creative and learn art, learn different techniques, learn skills, or just come and just have fun and be creative, just have fun, and just be creative.
Well, we're very lucky, like I said, to have you. You exude the Masterworks ethos in terms of what we're trying to do with enhancing the arts in Bermuda. So thank you, Kendra, for all your hard work. We couldn't do half of our programs or any of them without you. I mean, it would just, I can't even imagine. So thank you for everything you're doing. And, even right now we're in a forced closure at the museum. You can tell we're all at home. And Kendra is doing free Zoom art classes for students, just to make sure that we're continuing on our mission. So thank you.
And keeping people engaged in art.
Yeah.
and keeping
Yeah.
it alive, you know, because that is just a good thing. Today I had the kids on today, and it was amazing to see how happy they are happy. They're happy, and it makes the parents happy when they're
Yes.
happy because they're like excited. Yeah, I'm about to create artwork, and they just love it. It's amazing. It's the simplest things. You can do the simplest things, and they just have so much fun. They love it because, again, creating is just who we are as humans. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
good
thank you so much for this interview. This has been so enlightening for me. I mean, I know we sit
Thank
so
you.
close together every day, but it's great to hear more about, you know, exactly what draws you to art, what you love about it. Your passion definitely shows.
Thank you
So
so
thank you
much.
for sharing that with us and the rest of Bermuda. So I know that you've got your education at masterworksbermuda.org email if people want to reach out to you, share any thoughts, share any interest about camps, after school
Yeah.
classes. But I know that you've also got an Instagram and Facebook profile as well.
I do. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. If you're interested in just what I do as an artist, you can definitely hit me up on Messenger or Instagram.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
You can
Kendra,
find me
thanks so
there.
much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys.
Jasmine and I, and
Yeah.
we'll see you soon.
See you guys
See you
soon.
soon.